Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today we are sitting down with Nick Hayden, Lee Gettings, and the legend, Stephen Scott today. So we are going to do just a kind of quick introduction for these fellas. They're going to be hanging out with us every now and then on Bourbon Barrel Talk, and they hang out with us in the local bourbon club. And there's 3 or 4 of them here in Louisville that we all are kind of in. We're at Nick's house, so I'm going to let Nick start because I think that's the nice thing to do. First of all, Nick, thanks for having us out, and just tell everybody from the Bourbon Barrel Talk family a little bit about yourself.
So, welcome to the bunker. First off, it's been a long process to get everyone here, so it's been great. So, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. New to Louisville, I guess 5 years ago. So once you come to Louisville, it's kind of like you're embedded into bourbon. So I've always liked whiskey and bourbon growing up. I used to stock boxes and stuff at a local liquor store when I was doing my undergrad, my first undergrad, my undergrad. So it's but moving around, and then once you come over here to Louisville and see all the good stuff, it's really ingrained into yourself. So it's great to be here. Great company. The legend, of course, Lee Gettings, and of course you, Scott. So welcome. We got a beautiful table of bottles. Some stuff I haven't tried yet, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, there's a couple of things on here I actually haven't tried, and I feel like I've tried a lot of shit. So I'm super excited about this Old Kirk. You're gonna have to tell us a little bit more about that one because you brought it. But let's introduce the other fellas, and then we'll dive into that and kind of go from there. Lee?
Hey, Lee Gettings. So I'm from southern Indiana. I think Scott is from there as well. Got into bourbon probably 10 or 12 years ago. Kind of cut my teeth on some wild turkey.
When you were 6? You're only like 19 or 20 now, I feel like.
I did not ID him when we came in.
But moving fast forward a little bit, kind of got into some of the Knob Creek store picks, and most recently in the last couple of years, joining some of the bourbon groups and meeting new people and sharing samples has kind of brought me along the process and some of the camaraderie, and just love to be part of the process, and a lot of the local charities that we do with the bourbon groups is something that I like. So very much appreciate, Scott, you bringing me on here, and Nick allowing us. So let's have some good pours, and maybe a baby chug here in a little bit.
There you go. So. And speaking of charity, I don't know anybody in the bourbon community more charitable than the legend himself. So Stephen Scott, soon to be retired Stephen Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, actually, it's Stephen J. Scott. Let's get.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Stephen
middle initial.
J. Scott. The funny thing is, I'm actually a J. Scott. I'm a J. Scott Minton.
Right. So my first bourbon, quote unquote, was Jack Daniels under a dining room table in my fraternity house in 1974, several hours after the tornado hit Hanover College.
I'll be damned.
And I don't think I was born yet.
I wasn't born yet.
Actually, I know I wasn't born yet.
I was born in 77, so and I knew I was the second oldest fart at the table. So,
so my roommate got to a liquor store that afternoon after the tornado hit and grabbed a bottle of Jack, and we sat under a kitchen table because there were still tornado warnings, and it's gone uphill from there.
So you went to the Harvard of Indiana, Hanover, huh?
Yes.
Now that's no joke. Hanover, no dummies go to Hanover. I'm just going to tell you guys that. The smart kids go to Hanover. So Stephen must have been a pretty good student.
Well, that and my parents both went there and very well connected with the school at the
Wasn't
time.
It's a Methodist school too at the time.
Presbyterian.
Wasn't it? Presbyterian. I knew it had some religious background if I remember correctly.
But I've been in Louisville now 16 years and have always enjoyed bourbon and gotten involved with the local groups. And as Scott said, charity and sharing are key to me of what this brown water represents. Drinking alone is okay, but drinking with friends and using these bottles to make a difference for other people is just so huge.
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, when we started the podcast, one of the first things we did a few barrel picks, and instantly we were like, hey, what are we going to do with the money? Let's raise some money, give it to charity, things like that. And we've got a few we're going to do this year, and we're just super excited about it. So glad to have you on. So now that everybody's introduced themselves, let's talk about, we got a crazy weird bottle here that none of us had seen until today. Nick got some Old Kirk, and Nick, tell us a little bit about it, because I didn't even read the bottle other than the age statement. So go from there.
Yeah, so we got a little Old Kirk, 6 year, 6 month, 126 proof, coming out of San Francisco. So my understanding is that Old Kirk did a contract distilling agreement with a local distillery, got about 40 barrels, a lot of which went to Tennessee and Texas. And there's about 40 barrels, 40 clubs did single barrels, each one of them about 6 years, 6 months, about 6 year, 9 month. So it's there's a little controversy behind it, because two of the groups out of Chattanooga, this group in particular, this pick, disclosed where that distillate was from. So
dun dun dun.
I know, dun dun dun. So we have run this blind against the distillate that the group told me about. I've seen the picture of the barrel head. And I think it's just a phenomenal bottle. I think it's an under-the-radar bottle. Not a lot of people know about it. I don't know if a lot of people here in Louisville really know about it. Every time I take it somewhere, sometimes it sits on there because they don't know what it is. Sometimes once you get your hand on it, you don't want to turn it over back to me. But it's it'll take you for a ride. I think there's a lot of complexities to it. I think it's a solid pour. I think it'll hold its own against some of the big boys, the Bugattis at Bourbon. It is distilled in Bardstown, if that helps narrow down where it is. So it is Kentucky distillate.
So when you said it was from Bardstown, and I got a nose of it, and I mean, I'm just speculating because I don't know anything about what you're talking about, but to me, this definitely is very reminiscent of Heaven Hill. So I don't know if that's what it is. If it's not, it reminds me of some of the Heaven Hill bottles that I've had in the past, almost like a Parker's.
Let's try to go around the corner just a little bit.
Okay, really? Really?
Yeah, so let's try to go 2 miles down the road.
Wow.
So it's we know it's not Barton,
yeah,
and it's not Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
Without disclosing who it is, but it could be close, a close neighbor to Heaven, a close neighbor to Heaven Hill.
Wow. But it tastes a lot like Heaven Hill to me.
It does. When you get those notes. So
when they contracted this, they must have contracted a very similar recipe.
Yes.
To a Heaven Hill recipe.
Yes. So this is if you look at the barrel number, so this is barrel number 7054. If you look at the various mash bills that this particular company deals with, it's a typical, I think, of a high corn. So I think it's like a 61% corn. But it's very indicative of Heaven Hill. But I can tell you, it's probably about 2 miles down the road from Heaven Hill.
2 miles due east of Heaven Hill. That's kind of crazy. But I mean, I don't know if anybody else has already tried it or not. But the first thing that hit me was like Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond, the old 6 year. Very, very reminiscent of that. So I thought I had it pegged, but evidently I'm just a moron. It was just two miles down the road.
So Scott, I get some of that on the nose, but I also pick up some floral notes. I don't know if you can.
So I get that too, but I get that on Heaven Hill anyway. Like when I smell Heaven Hill, I get a little bit of caramel up front, a little bit of the brown sugar, stuff like that, but I get a lot of floral. So Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, I like it. I enjoy it, especially the old 6 year white label. But as a general rule, I don't drink Heaven Hill as heavily as a lot of my friends do. So for me, it's always got almost like a medicinal mid palate, and I don't like that. It honestly, it reminds me of like the 27 Handy. The 2019 Handy. Remember how it was just super medicinal, had a lot of, and to me, a lot of Heaven Hill products kind of have that, even though it's not as high of a rye. With it being so high corn, but I don't know. That's just my personal opinion on it.
Well, I was not going to say that it was a high corn. I was thinking it was maybe a high rye because I feel like there's a lot of spice on the end, but it's unique in the nose and up front. But write exactly what you said with the medicinal notes about halfway, 3/4 of the way on the finish. That's what I didn't really care for. But I think I like some of that spice. It kind of wants you to come back and try it again. So
I almost get almost like a cigar, like a super dry cigar. Have you ever had Crossfire here locally? It reminds me of, and I can't remember which one it was, but there was a Crossfire cigar that I'd smoked, and it was kind of had that, like, it dries out the top part of your tongue, and this kind of is reminiscent of that. It gives me kind of that tobacco-y type dryness in that mid palate portion, and that's the reason I said it's almost medicinal. Whereas some stuff, when I drink it, I get a lot of like pipe tobacco, sweet cherries, plum, dark fruit, things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely very complex. Again, it's one of those, I kind of like the unique bourbons that you can take somewhere and not a lot of people know about it, but really diving into the research and the history and trying to almost sleuth my way to figure out where it's from, where it's distilled. And when you share it, again, it's sharing something that a lot of people haven't had. So it's explaining kind of the story behind it, and even though there's some drama within this bottle, supposedly down in Chattanooga. I'm not from there, so I don't care. But it's very interesting. So it's something that you can share, and it's new. They might not have heard of it, and I think you can only get it through Tennessee or if you know certain individuals.
So I love the bottle, and I really like the cork. I mean, the bottle's just got like almost like it's not quite amber, but it's darker. It's like a brownish, but it's almost amber. And it's got, I love bottles that have that raised edge, like writing on the glass. Like, I don't know why. It's just, to me, it reminds me of old school, like 1920s, 1930s bottles. And it just gives me that old reminiscent aged bottle. Do you know where the Kirk came from? Like, is it supposed to be funny, like after Captain Kirk?
I have no idea behind the name. I really don't. But the bottle is nice. It has that nice paper. Those nice paper labels. So it's again, it's very reminiscent of like the Prohibition type bottles. Cork is really unique as well. So it's again, it's overall it's a unique bottle. People can share it. They haven't had it. Again, it'll throw you for a little bit of a loop. So,
very unique taste. I would have thought it was a high rye.
Yeah,
it kind of jumped into my mouth and really made me aware.
It was in there.
That it was there. Yeah, there's nothing subtle about it.
That's what she said.
That's my line.
Well, that's I think on the nose, I think is I like the nose, and then up front it kind of lets you know it's there, and that's why I kind of like some of those higher rye, high proof bourbons. As it kind of transitions towards the back, I think that's where what you were saying, kind of picking up those medicinal. I can't really pick it up. I didn't really like it, but then the finish is where it comes back. And it just lingers, and it lingers. I mean, it's still lingering right now. I wouldn't be like, all right, I got to go back and try it again.
No,
so that's
I 100% agree with you. Like I said, and I get that sometimes from extremely high rye bourbons or rye whiskeys. You'll get kind of like, to me, it's medicinal / floral. I mean, you can kind of interchange the two. I am much more of a, if I'm going to drink a rye, I prefer the more fruit forward notes off a rye. So some of your earlier handies I felt like were just beautifully complex with fruit flavors and depth and baking spices and things like that. But for some strange reason, 2019 and maybe BTAC was just a bad year for 2019. Let's be honest, Stag fell short. I felt like the handy fell short. I didn't get a chance to try the Eagle Rare 17 or the Sazerac Rye. The William LaRue Weller, I actually really enjoyed the 2019. So that was the only one that I tried of the three that I had that I was like, oh, I really like that one. So, but kind of nor here nor there. So to find out, a little bit more about you guys, I like to always talk, and let's grab some more bottles and drink them. If something strikes your fancy, talk about it, that type of thing. But so we'll start with Steven, and then we'll work our way around the room. What's your favorite pour of all time? And then, I mean, literally of all time. So, I mean, it could be a 1962 whatever that you've tried. It could be, an everyday drinker that's just something you can't put down. But what's the favorite?
That's a challenge. I did bring one that I absolutely love, and that's the 1792 225th anniversary bottle. It's a low proof, 92.15 proof, but it just, the balance, the character of this bottle just really amazes me.
Well, hand it over here. Come on, let's drink it. That's actually one of the ones I've actually not had sitting on the table, which is unusual because I've had every other 1792 out there. I feel like I've even had the Ridgemont Reserve and a couple of the other ones. So I'm excited to dive into this one. The 12-year I found to be really complex and had some nice flavors to it. But full proof is still kind of my because I'm a high octane whore, I guess is what I'd like to call it.
I agree, but I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of this 225 because I have not had it either.
So we'll kind of go through that piece.
I guess in answer to your question, I'm sitting on a bottle of Remus Volstead Reserve that I will open when I retire, and I absolutely find that to be the best thing that I've had.
Really, Remus Volstead. That's one that
14-year bottle and bond.
Yeah, I was going to say that was that special release. What, like 2 years ago they released that, something like that. So yeah, I've actually not had that either. So go figure.
I seen it actually. I think we talked about this there was a liquor store in southern Indiana that had it, and I didn't know what it was and passed it.
Passed it up, huh? So my sister found a bottle of it in Madison, and because I hadn't had it, I didn't really want to buy it. So it was one of those things where I told her to pass on it, and it sat there for like 3 months in Madison. And I told a buddy about it, and told him where it was, and he went down there, and he's like, it was still there, so he bought it. So I was like, so go figure. But he lives in Hazard, Kentucky, and I've not been down to go visit with him yet to try it. Every time I go down there, I feel like banjos are playing and crazy shit's gonna happen, so I always try to stay away from there. So, Nick, favorite bottle? You got one, or?
I mean, there's a lot of good bottles. It's more the story behind the bottle. If I had to choose one, I'd probably go with a 12 or 13 year. No surprise here, Smoke Wagon pick. I am a Smoke Wagon nut. Just something with that 12 and 13 year old single barrel MGP juice.
Right.
Just always really good. Some people were hit or miss on one of the group's picks about 2 years ago. I'm still sitting on a couple of those. I really enjoy them. That'd probably be my go-to. I mean, but I've also missed on a couple bottles. I was going to tell the story where I was flying into Tulsa. This is when I first came into Louisville, and you don't really know the opportunities to buy phenomenal bottles when you come here. It's like you think you get a Buffalo Trace over in a Mission Kansas. You're sitting on gold. So you come here, and I didn't know Louisville Airport takes about 30 minutes to get through. Maybe 45 if there's people.
It has to be real freaking busy.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to be like lined up all the way onto the freeway. But it's I went there and they had a bottle of Michter's 20 sitting on the gift shop on the upper right. I can still visualize it. I was like, what is that bottle? Oh, it's a Michter's 20. Now, granted, this was I think 3 years ago, so it was a 2017. I was like, oh, what's the price tag on that? And it was like $1,100. It's like, oh my gosh, so expensive. So it's just like, I was like, I can't afford that. So I'm like texting all my buddies who live here, like, hey, it's like, this is stupid price. Meanwhile, I'm giving them my ticket, so I go through the gate, and they go, you got to turn around and buy that. I go, I can't go. Like, if I leave, I can't, have to buy another ticket. They go, you can afford another ticket with this. So get that bottle. And meanwhile, so it's just like I text, I go, I'm already on the plane. And then my favorite moment was, so I'm on the plane, and I'm checking social media as I'm killing time before we take off. And right before we turn our phone to airplane mode, you can see, I think, I don't know if the post is still up, but it's like, this guy's like, who's this idiot who passed up this bottle, blah, blah, blah. I go, I'm that idiot. It's like, I'm sitting on the plane right now. But it is, sometimes you get misses. I mean, it is what it is. It's,
IYK, if you know, you know.
I know. It's just like, oh my gosh. It's like, that would have been a good bottle. But if I had to choose a bottle, it'd probably be that 12 or 13 year Smoke Wagon. I really aim towards the picks. So if you get that nice red wax seal, you know where to find me.
So I've had a couple of Smoke Wagons that I've enjoyed, but the problem is like there's so few and far between in this area. So finding one and getting it and being able to drink it, you're like, so I've not been blown away by any. Now I did not get to try that bottle. If we're talking about the one that had was it from one of the
Tombstone, yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to try that bottle. I was supposed to go to Tim Van Ripper's house and try it one night, and I got tied up with something, didn't make it, and so I haven't had it yet. So
yeah, they don't distribute here, which is unfortunate. So usually I have to have connections out in Vegas or Arizona or something. Like if they see a bottle at a decent price, they'll have to mule it over. So I encourage a lot of people to go over to Vegas for vacation, and then if they drive, just make sure they bring me bottles.
yeah, can you take? I mean, I guess you could hide it in your luggage, right? You can't take it on the bottle. You can't take it on the plane.
Yeah, you can. So I was talking with a group out of St. Louis, the St. Louis Bourbon Society, about this because there's a couple people interested in flying. And TSA, I think, allows you 5 liters, which is 6.66 bottles. Now, I would not encourage that amount. I'd usually encourage about 3 or 4 bottles. But you can pack them. So if I happen to have like a special case that carries 3 or 4. I tell people to go to Harbor Freight and get like the Apache 48 case, which is foam, which fits like 3 or 4 bottles. Nice and secure. Make sure you get a big bag. You do have to check it. But again, your bottles are safe. So if you're flying into like Napa Valley, even like wine or various other spirits, I'd encourage bringing back 3 or 4 if you can. But hard cases or, some air casks, maybe wrap it up in your clothes, bring some towels from home. I would not come into the hotel towels. Just
So is that the cut foam or is that the smushy kind of molds to it foam?
It's it molds to it foam, but it has like the little squares so you can like pluck out. Like it's so you can easily design it around your bottle. So it's most of those bottles are about 18 inches tall anyway.
Right.
So you can do a nice even stagger. So you get 4 and then put it in, and then you can come home with 4 nice bottles that aren't distributed here. Smoke Wagon being one of those. I think Doc Swinson's another one out of Houston.
So we're starting to see some Doc Swinson here locally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's weird. I don't know.
So.
And Lee, you kind of gave it away at the beginning. You said you're a GTS or. So is that your favorite bottle of all time, or is there? Let's rephrase that. If it is your favorite bottle, what's the year?
So I have not had, unfortunately, all of the GTS years. I'm working on that, and actually, one guy, Travis French, has actually turned me in on quite a few of the older ones. But the 2018 is the one that's sitting on the table right now. I think that's a very solid pour. I kind of like them all. I think that there's a lot of that kind of upfront complexity from they're 14, 15-year-old. They have that dark kind of fruit flavor to them, and they let you know that they're there, and that's something that I enjoy. So
I've got 2 bottles of 18 at home, and I've got a 20. I'm out of 17, which is one of my favorites. Oddly enough, Wesley Goodlow's a big 17 fan.
Wesley is he's a very, very solid bourbon steward.
Yeah.
But no, the 17 was very solid. I'm down to 18, a couple 20s. So I'm working on some of the elder ones. I've drank quite a few, done some bottle kills, and probably shouldn't have. Should have enjoyed them a little bit longer, but...
So of the GTSs, my favorite is probably going to be 06 or 07. Phenomenal. I think one's hazmat, the other one's like 138 and some change or something like that. But I don't know, there's just something about those older stags that just the complexity of flavor, even more so back then than they are now. And I don't know, maybe I always make it up to the fact that I feel like our water has gotten more and more chlorinated over the years. Even though they're purifying it and doing all those other things before they use it for distillate. But I just feel like our water quality of stuff is just not as good as it was 25 years ago.
I remember making signs for the GTS at the liquor store. I used to stock boxes for the $79.99. Get your BT. And you could even move this off the shelf, by the way. So the bright, neon green posters, this was 06, 07. And we'd have cases, like literally stacks of it, GTS and the Handies and, like the Eagle Rare, like all of this, like please buy me a $79.99.
Yeah. Well, it was expensive. I mean, like I want to say the picture that always comes back to mind, and somebody posted on the Hounds, rest their peace.
Yeah, I might have that picture. I think because
it's like $59.99. I think is what it was, or something like that. But I know literally there was like 3 stacks of GTS, like 4 stacks of Eagle Rare 17 Handy, and all that stuff. And I'm like, I laugh whenever I look at that picture because I'm like, I remember those days, and I remember the days when Weller 12 used to sit on the bottom shelf. Like that was my daily drinker for years and years and years. And then, it got harder and harder to get. So then I moved to OWA because it was a little bit easier to get. And then now I still, OWA is kind of my daily drinker, but it's funny that I always laugh. But I can't remember the year, and I've told the story multiple times, but there was a Pappy 15 that I had, and it was in the old green Stitzel-Weller bottles, and it was one of the best drinks I've ever had in my entire life. But
so you talking to I haven't had probably 2011, I think, on the GTS. You kind of alluded to my age earlier in the podcast, I believe, but there is one when I cut my teeth on Wild Turkey. I've been searching on some of these dusty pages and trying to find one. It was a Russell's release, and it was not in any of the older releases the same bottles. It was the same, I guess, the Wild Turkey 101 bottle, and I cannot find. I don't know if it. I remember it was on the shelf and bought a couple of them, and it was fantastic. And I can still just. It's whenever I try a dusty bottle, it just always brings me back to that memory. But I cannot find that bottle. I can't find a picture of it.
So how old are you, Lee? What year were you born?
1978.
Liar.
It's a mystery.
No, seriously.
1990.
1990.
But so I was not the one that was in the store.
No,
I guess,
and that's fair enough. No, the reason I was asking is because I've actually got a bottle of 91 Wild Turkey 101 sitting in my basement. That oddly enough, my dad stopped drinking probably 14, 15 years ago. Other than the occasional Miller Lite or whatever, and it was it was just literally sitting in the top of their kitchen cabinet, just sitting up there. And my mom was like, I think I'm just going to start, pouring this on my roses, because that's an old wives' tale that if you pour whiskey on your roses, it helps them grow. So, and I'm like, you're not going to pour that whiskey on there. And she goes, well, what do you mean? It's just Wild Turkey. And I'm like, yeah, but that's an old bottle of Austin, So I brought it home and I cracked it open. So I was going to say, I'll share a bottle of Wild Turkey with you that's around your age, because I was figuring it was like 90, 91. But.
Yeah, so 90. But I've looked, and I'm wanting to say it was probably, and I say it was dusty. It's obviously not a dusty, but it was probably about 14 years ago or so. But looking at all the other pages in some of those similar years, it's they're all different bottles, not the one. So I don't know if it was just a special release or something for 1 year or a certain time. And I've been trying to find it just because it's kind of brings back memories and things like that. And but
it wasn't like the Christmas edition rye or anything like that. The green label. Okay.
I've got the picture in my memory, and I've been trying to go back and find it, and all the older bottles that I can find, or around within plus or minus a few years. I don't know how long it may have sat on the shelf or whatever, but I have not been successful yet. So
my favorite Wild Turkey of all time is the donut. I don't know if anybody's had a donut or not.
I know what you're talking about.
So I love the 95, like the cheesy gold foil or 94, 95 split labels. Those are fantastic. But the 02, 03 donuts are just amazeballs.
Solid.
Just really so good.
There's just something about the old Dusties that, it seems like that's like the new trend. I'm not going to lie. I've seen a lot more people go after the old decanters as of late, like the, 68, 69 beams. And, I got a couple old peppers from like the 70s. I think I
stay away from McCormick.
No. I got a 58 and a 68 Old Pepper, and it's like some of those, just the notes. And these are like 86 proof. 86, 90 proof. And they don't drink like it, and they just pack it full of flavor. I'm telling you, some of those Dusties are gems.
So, Steven, when we did a bottle share at my buddy Josh's house not that long ago, you brought in, what was it, like a 70-something beam or an 81 beam, or... I don't remember what it was. It might have been you just gave me a sample of it. I'm trying to remember, but man, it was a fantastic older beam bottle, and I want to say
I brought an older Old Forester, the Japanese Old Forester.
That's what you brought to Josh's. No, you gave me a sample of this. It was in one of the little 2-ounce sample pours, but you gave it to me when we did a bottle swap one time. You said, "Hey, try this," and I don't remember what it was, but it was an older beam bottle. I want to say it was like 70s.
I've had some 75, 76 Jim Beams.
So that's probably what it was, but it was tasty as hell.
Yeah.
I've got a 77 or 78 Jim Beam, and it's, I guess, just the quality, kind of like how you're talking about the water and quality of wood and the processes that they, versus now you're mass producing everything for low proof. Because like I said, I like all high proof bourbons, but back then, I guess just going back to them, the quality and complexity and amount of flavor that they pack in those low proofs is very interesting. I've also I had a mid 60s, very, very old Fitzgerald that was very solid. And then also the only other one I've tried quite a few, been trying to get into some of the old Dusty Pages, but for some reason they won't accept me, I guess, because I was born too.
You were born too early?
Too early, I guess.
So one crazy guy did a unboxing type thing, and it was like some pre-prohibition, like 2-gallon bottle of.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I almost got that one. It's
God.
the old Plankington,
yes,
or Plankington out of Wisconsin,
yeah,
which has a very unique history. It's I tried to buy the box in the empty bottle because I was going to put it up here in the bunker,
right.
And I ran out of time. I got distracted with running, but that has a crazy history behind it. He sent me a 1-ounce sample because he felt bad, and I'm telling you, that is very good. But I think even at like Christie's auction house, I mean, that 2-gallon bottle goes for, I think, $10K.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's no joke, but it's serious. There's a cool history behind that. If people want to look, I think it's called Plankington.
Yeah, something like that.
Based out of Wisconsin. It's there's some issues, I think, with the family and kind of like this feud, and they kind of lost track of it. Look into it. It's good.
Yeah, it came in a crate, like this wooden crate, which I was like,
yes.
What the hell is this?
Yes.
This dude's like unboxing it, pulling it out, had gloves on.
It has like bird's nest like wrapping around this bottle. Like just picture like a 2-gallon carboy with like bird's nest around it inside of a wooden box.
Yes. For sure. It was one of the weirdest things I've sat around and watched, and my wife is like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm telling her, and she's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I know, I'm sorry, babe." Just kick me in the nuts. Why don't you? So one of those.
Does your wife drink bourbon at all?
No. So I've tried to warm up her palate and do that type of thing. My wife, now she loves rum. She's a big fan of rum. The only bourbon-esque type thing that I've ever been able to get her to drink was actually Fortuitous Union Rolling Fork Spirits. I don't know if you ever tried it.
So good.
Oh, it's
so good.
So damn delicious.
I think I might have a couple of those hidden over in these crates.
Oh, so if they've not tried it, if you've got one open, you should definitely let them try it before they leave. But it was an accident, right? So, FU bottle, right? So, so anyway, when Turner went to a certain distillery in Bardstown to have those bottled, they forgot to clear the hopper for the bottling line. So there was like 100 gallons or 40 gallons or whatever of rye whiskey sitting in the bottom when they dumped this beautiful 12-year-old Barbados or whatever rum it is. I think it's Barbados. It could be Jamaican. And but he said that he had to act real super freaking mad about it, so that way they wouldn't charge him for the rye whiskey, and basically blamed it on him. So he was able to get a better deal on it. But it actually turned out to be a Fortuitous Union, as why they call the bottle that. But it's delicious, but super super neat, complex bottle for sure.
It's very good. That Bourbon Brotherhood had a tasting of it a couple years ago and really enjoyed it.
I have not tried it, so Nick, go ahead and pull it out of the bunker, and we'll do a little baby chug. And
we can crack the rum.
That's not a baby chug bottle, trust me. So anyway, I dove into. I love these old Knob Creeks, and there's just something about the nose of these 14 and 15-year-olds that's just so much more complex than the 9, 10, and 12-year-old ones.
The reason I brought that along is I kind of wasn't sure how we were going to talk about this, but kind of brought a wild turkey and a rye, which I cut my teeth on wild turkey and had moved into liking more ryes because of the spice and kind of that Kentucky hug that you kind of get more from that. And then in the transition moving forward, I've started picking up some of these 14, 15-year-old Knob Creek picks, and they have such a heavy char, like cherry bomb kind of flavor, and let you know that they're there, 120 proof. And then also the GTS, because that's kind of my go-to from there. So
what I laugh about whenever people talk about that type of stuff, and Josh is always the one that gets me going about it the most, is the fact that some of these distillates are so close in mash bill. Like when you talk about Wild Turkey 101, Knob Creek, 1792, a bunch of their different distillates, almost all of them are in that 61% corn, 20-something% rye, whatever, or 30% rye, and then just a little bit of malted barley. And Old Forester's another one. So when you look at like just how similar all of them are, it's just funny that you get so much of a different flavor off of each one of those things, even though literally the distillate, recipe is almost identical in some capacity.
Yeah, and those Knob Creeks are a good buy too. I mean, you're talking $50.
Oh, value for the buy.
Like it's like $50-$60 sometimes for a store pick. I mean, it's just a phenomenal value. I mean, you'll see me at stores sometime, like go through and actually look at the labels and calculate out the years, because there's some gems out there just sitting on the shelves and people don't realize it. It's they're just solid, just a solid pour every time.
No, absolutely, 100% with you. But I do love the complexity that the extra years give these, and I think you said it. I don't even know if we were even already recording at that point, but the fact that a lot of those 14 and 15-year-olds, we're probably just never going to see them on these store picks again, because they've moved into that 15-year-old product that kind of gives me a little baby tear.
Yeah, I'm shedding a little tear over here too. But and I think a lot of these new upcoming, such as like Starlight, they're going through and they're making really good quality stuff with 5, 6, 7-year-old bourbon. So why do they need to have these older bourbons that they can they can make these quality bourbons and then or market the, like Knob Creek, they're going away with their store picks and they have a 15-year that is $100 versus you get a store pick previously the last few years and it's $50. So that was kind of what my go-to was, that you can pick up a solid bourbon for $50-$55, 14, 15-year-old, but now they're going away. So it's
so that's the thing
sad.
that really, really interests me about, especially like your younger, newer distillate brands. Your Spirits of French Licks, your Starlights. I mean, hell, even
Peerless,
yeah, Nulu. I mean, Angel's
I had to throw a
Envy.
Peerless joke in there. Come on now.
Bullet. I mean, all these people have been distilling, for less than 10 years, right? And they're making good stuff. I mean, super good stuff at 6 years. So what's their shit going to taste like when it gets to 8, 10, 12? I'm super anxious to see what those brands bring to the table later on, Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you've not had Spirits of French Lick, I mean, like, you're probably missing out. Like, there's some really good stuff. Alan does some funky stuff too that, if you like to think outside the box of what bourbon should be or what rye whiskey should be, there's definitely stuff there you need to try, right?
They're 4 grain. They're 4 grain.
That Lee Sinclair is an excellent pour. It's an excellent pour.
I was just gifted a bottle of the
Matty Gladden. Okay, yeah. Now the Sam Dalton is their weeded, and it's really good. I mean, it's very Weller-esque. It doesn't have the same type of mash bill, but it's got those same fruit forward notes, different things like that. It's a good solid pour, and it's only 4 years old. I mean, it's 4-year-old. They just reached bottled and bond on those Dalton bottles. So there's so much stuff that's going on out there that I think if people they need to get outside of Sazerac and Buffalo Trace products, and they need to get outside of the other big names and just go try some local stuff, pick it up. It's going to be more expensive, right? I mean, these places got to stay in business, but it's going to be a good pour. But also look for your old school stuff. I mean, like I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't have JTS Brown in your bunker, you're probably missing out. Like JTS Brown Bottled and Bond is a super good pour.
I mean, there's pours out there that people just overlook on the shelf. My go-to, honestly, is Early Times. It's a $20 bottle, $25 out the door. Blue Label, Bottle and Bond.
Yep.
I mean, it's one of those. But I'll agree with you. There's some of the craft distilleries that when you come to Kentucky and do the craft trail, they're doing some great things. I mean, again, you're looking at 4 or 5 year. I mean, Castle and Key just put out their 3-year, 6-month rye, which is pretty solid. Peerless, I think, it's on 4 or 5 year. I think they opened up in 17. Neely.
Do not sleep on Neely. Royce is going to kill it.
Royce is doing great things up there. I mean, it's one of those. He has like a 2 or 3 year rye that is like Animal Crackers or what. I mean, it's it's a unique tour. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys of like Kentucky. I mean, that story. I mean, it's like when he says he has like bullet holes still at his grandma's house or his aunt's house. I mean,
he's
it's
for real. I mean, they were on Moonshiners like last week or something like that. His whole family was.
Hey, he still has his. I think it's original still. He used to run. I don't know if I can say this. I don't want to incriminate him. He used to run Shine out of his dorm or something like that on the weekends. He used to run Shine.
So his dad told that story on the podcast.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
So he's admitted it.
So funny story about that. So we spend like 4 weeks talking with Royce over Facebook Messenger, talking, getting everything scheduled, the whole 9 yards. We show up the day of the podcast. We get there, and Royce missed the plane because him and Rebecca had gotten hammered so bad the night before and got married.
Did they go out to Vegas or something? I remember that.
So they went out to Vegas, got hammered, they got married, and he missed our podcast date. So I interviewed Roy instead, and he told the story about how his wife was like, Royce hadn't asked for any money in like 9 weeks. And he goes, what do you mean he hadn't asked for money in 9 weeks? He goes, well, what the hell's he doing for money? And then he went up there, and he's like, here, Dad, try this.
Well, that's great.
Making apple pie moonshine.
Didn't they like take a visit though? Because it's like he's not making money. It's like family weekend, and then all of a sudden like his dad knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Like that was the funny part. Is like his dad's like, I think I know what's going on. His guy was like, oh God, like don't show your mother.
Yeah.
So that is they're close to northern Kentucky up.
They're in Sparta. Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
so
they're
right
in
up
front of
71. Right
so
up
just
71.
a couple weeks ago, I went up to or headed to Cincinnati and was going to stop there, but for some I don't know if it was the time wasn't right or whatever. So we ended up stopping at Boone County, which
another great craft distillery, by the way.
Yes.
If you haven't been
doing
there,
good stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, a lot of their sourced MGP products were solid, but I didn't realize how small they were. Went up there and they had one of the distiller there had come from MGP. But they had a new 6 and 7 year out there that was a little bit higher proof. Grabbed it, and then also speaking of rum, which I'll let you try, or for your wife, they had a company out of the country come in and do some kind of specialty deal, and there was like 200 bottles, and it's a bourbon finished rum, but it's really subtle, and I'm not a big rum guy, unless I'm on the beach or something, but it's pretty solid, so I'll let you try it, but. I've seen the Neely, and I've kind of heard a little bit about their background, but I didn't actually get to go there. So that is one that's on the trail. The lady loves to go to distilleries and kind of the history, and she doesn't like drinking bourbon. Kind of bringing her around a little bit, but that's just.
We're the same way. It's like Robin drinks like a little bit of bourbon. She likes like those I want to say foo drrinks, like more like the mixed cocktails.
So my wife will drink a Manhattan or old fashioned.
Yeah. But we really enjoy going on a lot of the tours. So I mean, right up 71, right by Kentucky Speedway. Kentucky Speedway. So it's not that far away. Great little tour. But yeah,
it's funny, Lindsay. So actually, we were talking about Wesley Goodlow, and so me and her were down on the beach for my 30th, and we packed in. I packed the Eagle Rare 17-year, 2018 GTS, a 2019 GTS, and a couple other bottles in my pack, like luggage, and I was a little nervous and got there, whatever. So it was my 30th birthday, and we go out on the beach, and he's like, do a baby chug or whatever, and so like, all right, so I had a Stag Junior as well with me, and that's all I had with me, and I was like, all right, well, this is pretty hot, and she doesn't drink bourbon, but okay, we're gonna go do a baby chug, and I gave it to her. She survived.
What batch was it, or do you know?
It was batch 13, I think.
Oh shit,
so,
that one's hot, but it's so damn tasty.
yeah, but she was like, whoa. But then when we were headed up to Cincinnati, I had a 2013 birthday bourbon, and she tried it, and she's like, I really like this.
Yeah.
So it's she's come around, but just going to some of the distilleries and the history behind it and stuff is what she kind of enjoys, and hey, I get to do a double tasting. So
there you go.
I think some of the finished ones are a good bridge. Like if like your significant other or partner, doesn't like like the heavy bourbon. Bardstown again is one of those.
Yep.
They're doing good things. I think they sniped some of the distillers from like Beam or Maker's Mark or whatever it was. I don't know the full history. But they're doing some great things with the finished one. So they definitely have like the honey and some of those sweeter ones that kind of have that nice little bridge to it. I mean, I enjoy it anyway, but it's one of those. It's some good stuff coming out of there.
Absolutely, 100% with you. So, hey, before we sign off tonight, dumbest thing you ever done while drinking?
Chugging Pappy 15.
That's the dumbest thing you've ever done while drinking was chugging a Pappy 15? I thought that was just normal for you, just chugging bourbon.
Yeah, but Pappy 15. Like half a bottle.
Oh, so the dumbest thing you ever did while drinking was you drank $400 at one time.
Pretty much. Maybe 700.
All right, Lee. Oh, you keep pointing at everybody else.
I've got I'm trying to think of a funny, maybe not too much incriminating, but I would say one is, in some of the groups, so it's all goofing around, doing some baby chugs and stuff. But so before baby chugs were a thing, I'm young, but I won't say I may have been of age, may have not been of age, but we thought it was going to be a good idea to take some Wild Turkey 101, and it was a handle, and see how many baby chugs we could do before we would puke. I think I did like 9, and a buddy of mine did like 8. We both ended up puking. We also tried to throw a bag of trash after we puked in the trash can. We tried to throw it out the window without the window open. So, so I'd say that's pretty stupid. But
I hear you, Nick.
Okay, I mean there's a lot of incriminating stories, so I'll go with the tamer of the ones. Seeing as there's plenty of time to tell the other ones. I'll go the one night we were on campus. I think we just had nothing special. I think it's probably just Jack Daniels. Actually, I almost want to say it was like the Jack Daniels like old number, like the bottle that just came out. Was like, it used to be $100. It was like old number 5 or whatever it was.
Gotcha. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So a buddy and I actually
Man, you were an expensive drunk when you were in college. I couldn't afford shit like that.
Well, well, working at the liquor store, you do get some discounts, but you also get access.
Was it a 5-finger discount?
No.
I mean, college age, I couldn't afford a $100 bottle.
Well,
maybe some lotion.
So part time at the liquor store, and then it's like you blow more money than what you think. So I was like a delivery driver for like Domino's, so you'd always get tips. So I'd use all my tips for like booze. Or that or recycling cans. So like after every party, I'd go and recycle all the cans, and then I'd take my little S10 and go recycle cans. But this particular night, we thought it was a great idea to feed the birds. And this is like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. And by feed birds, we think they want ramen noodles, right? So we have this giant. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but they're the giant water balloon slingshots. So it's basically you have 2 people that hold it up, and they're made out of like medical cords.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And then you have a pocket, and then you have a third person pulling it back, and these water balloons can go like 200 yards. So we're on campus. So one is like the birds need to be fed at 2 a.m. because we're convinced, and then we also want to see if we can make it over at Freddie Hall. That's what it was called. Well, we shoot all our ramen, and back when I was in my undergrad, you could go up to the store and you get these college coupons. So you get 10 ramen a day. So 10 ramen, a 2 liter of Coke, and there's something else. So basically you go in with these coupons and get a bunch of free food. Next morning, let's just say they were doing tours on campus, and there's birds everywhere, birds and squirrels. It looked like a petting zoo out there. Ramen all over the place. It's one of those. The side of the building. I think someone there's ramen stuck on the side. I don't know if we. I think we stopped at. We may have tried a can of ravioli. Cannot deny nor confirm that, but it's. But anyway, so that's probably the craziest thing we had is so feeding birds at 2 a.m. with this water balloon slingshot. We did calculate out that the ramen was going roughly about 60 yards. So it was definitely going across the main intersection. This is in Springfield, Missouri. So if you know National Boulevard, we're right across the intersection. So it's going across there, across the IT building, to the side of the building of Freddie. Squirrels all over the place. They didn't know what was going on. So thanks, Jack Daniels, for providing entertainment the next morning.
So I'm going to tell one I haven't told on here before, just to give you all a little insight. So me and a group of my buddies in our early 20s decided we were going to rent a bus, go down to Nash Vegas for the weekend. And we get, just past Bowling Green. And I started drinking at like 9:30 that morning. We'd had some barbecue, had been drinking everything else. And this was about noon. So I was already pretty intoxicated by that point. And I'm sitting about halfway in the bus. And I'm like, I got to pee. And they're like, well, dude, we're not stopping until we get to Nashville. And I'm like, but I've really got to pee. And they're like, well, I don't know what to do. So I literally, at this point, like rip the top off of my McDonald's cup, right there in the seat. And I go to throw it out the window. And I throw the urine out the window. And little did I know that everybody behind me had their windows open. So I literally throw like 18 ounces of piss on all my buddies on the way to Nashville.
What were the
that'll teach them not to stop.
What were the ramifications of that?
I had a pretty rough weekend. We'll just put it that way. I took a good solid beating that night when I was passed out. I woke up, I was pretty sore. So, but that was one of my drunken stupor nights and afternoons, but we had a good time, and what's a little piss amongst friends, right?
Here's the thing though, when it comes to bourbon, is like you always have these crazy stories, and you will never forget that. Like, and I bet your friends will never forget that moment.
They're definitely never gonna forget that.
So in the moment you can be heated, but at the same time, this story will live on for years and years, and it'll go to the grave with them. But it's one of those. You love the crazy stories, So you get the goods, you get the ups and downs, but it's these that you can discuss and laugh. It's really great.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one that has a bunch of stupid stories.
Oh, dude, some of the camp out stories and things like that. When we went to stay all night, at Liquor Barn or stay all night at whatever. Heck, one of the favorite stories I heard, and I don't remember if it was Owen or Q or somebody talked about the night they all spent the night at Belmead. They all went over to Belmead, the night before one of the big releases, and like it got completely tomfoolery up. But I'm not going to tell the story. But anyway, that's what happens, right? I mean, you get out, and like Steven said from the very beginning, it's all about fellowship. It's all about sharing time, memory. What's in the bottom of this bottle is only going to last as long as you drink it, right? But the memories you create, while pouring those bottles is what's going to last forever.
And if you haven't been on one of those, I have only been on a few. I didn't know what a camp out was until I really saw some of these releases. I always thought it's like, damn, those people are crazy. But if you really haven't been on one of these camp outs and looking at the individuals that you pass every day, the love of bourbon, the talking, the sharing, not going to lie, we share a lot of pours when we wait in line. I mean, just talking for hours. I mean, it's fun. I mean, there's been times I don't care about the bourbon. I just want to go hang out with people, and I'll talk with everyone for 3-4 hours. I mean, it's a great time. So if you haven't been, I mean, at least experience it once. Probably Old Foe is probably most known for their campouts, but I'd also say some of the Old Liquor Barn and some of the Total Wine ones. But Old Foe has some really solid lines. Bunch of people. I mean, you'll 3-4 hours is nothing when you talk bourbon amongst people in the community.
No, absolutely not. And then you're always going to run into somebody that brings something that you probably not had, which is always what I think the funnest thing is about it. I remember the first time I had King of Kentucky, Q brought it to a Liquor Barn release. Like 3 a.m, we're all sitting there just chilling, and Q rose up at 4:45, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And in his typical Q fashion, all happy and excited. His mom and his grandma and his grandpa is all there, and they all get in line, and he's like, "Hey, come back here, and try some stuff." So me and the two buddies that I was with, we kind of held the line for each other while we went back and forth, because that was one of our early ones, and I was like, hey, and just sure enough, fun, and, got to try some stuff I never had before. So, mic drop, matter of fact, that's the first time I ever had mic drop. I had tried King of Kentucky and mic drop the same weekend, so go figure. Well, Nick, thanks for the hospitality. Guys, I really appreciate you joining us on the show this week. I assume you don't want to plug anything, so I'm just going to say, hey, if you want to follow Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can do that on our Gmail. You can email us there, bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those good things. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that way you get our episodes as soon as they drop. This is Scott, Stephen J. Scott, Mr. Nick Hayden, and Lee Getting signing off. Peace.